scared of those people?
Yeah.
The only people that's in there is me and you. I can't see anybody else.
Shut up.
It's mommy.
Scared of mommy?
Yeah.
Pet me.
Alright. What do you... No, not my dad. That's Chucky. You want to say hi to everybody? Okay, say hi to everybody. You gotta talk loud so they can hear you. What are we gonna talk about tonight? You gonna tell me what we're gonna talk about?
Yeah.
What are we gonna talk about?
Action. Talk about Jesus. Jackson.
Jackson, not Jackson, Jesus. What did you learn about in Sunday school this week? Did you learn about Jesus at Sunday school?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you got to see your friends?
Yeah.
And you get to learn about Jesus?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to sing him a song before you go? What song do you want to sing him? How about if you hold this finger up and say, "This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine."
No.
No, you don't want to sing that song for them? Why not? What song do you want to sing?
Read the star.
Huh?
Read the star.
Oh, okay, you sing it. Go ahead.
Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Up above there, what you high, make a bobber.
Like a bobber? You've gone. Is that a fishing song?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right, that's pretty good. That's a Kinsey Brado remix version.
Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. How I wonder what you bob.
Is that your big finish?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go.
All right, tell them bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Say love you guys.
Bye.
All right.
You silly girl.
Goodbye. Goodbye. Bow, bow,
All right, that's
bow,
enough.
bow.
Well, hopefully everybody is doing well.
Come on, Bentley.
Obviously, Miss Kinsley was in a good mood and wanted to say hi to everybody, and apparently sing you a song too. So, hopefully you enjoyed all of that. That's a small little glimpse into a typical night at the Brado house. So, that's how we roll just about every night. Never a dull moment. It's always fun. Definitely never a dull moment. Well, hopefully you all had some time outside today, because for the 9th day of March, it was amazing. I did a decent amount of driving around and stuff today, and I really enjoyed the nice warm weather. So hopefully you got to get out and get a walk, or do maybe some real early preliminary gardening stuff, or I don't even know what. But hopefully you got out and did something and enjoyed the nice weather, because it was amazing. All right. So as always, if you got any prayer requests that you want to get on here, go ahead and throw them on as I'm doing the devotional and talking and stuff, and then I'll go back at the end and take a look, and we'll hit the prayer request. Or if you have any praises, feel free to throw them on there too. Always good with sharing some praises. So either one, some prayer requests or some praises, throw them on there, and then at the end I will go back and check them out, and then we'll share them and pray and get out of here for the night. So it's kind of odd me doing Tuesday. I feel a little bit out of sorts. So Pastor Tim's going on vacation this week, so Ed's doing Monday and Wednesday, and I'm doing Tuesday and Thursday, so he can enjoy his vacation down there and his time with family and stuff. So we're splitting it up this week, multitasking, or multi-deboing. There you go. All right. Well, it's 8:05. Kinsley filled up 3 minutes with their song. So, the title for tonight is The Real You. The Real You. So, a lot of different ways we could go with that. The verse is Ephesians 3. Ephesians chapter 3, verse 17. Says that Christ may dwell in your hearts by faith. Nice, short and sweet. That Christ may dwell in your hearts by faith. So he goes on to say, experts have told us that our society is sick. When I read that, I thought, no kidding. What an understatement, right? Experts have told us that our society is sick. Their solutions have treated human frailty with infusions of low-income housing, welfare payments, integrated education, and psychological conditioning. That psychological conditioning one, that's an interesting one. That covers a lot of territory, but we'll just leave that alone for now. It says, but we are learning that that is not the total answer. The world does need changing. Society needs changing. The nation needs changing. But we will never change it until we ourselves are changed. And we never will change until we look into the mirror of our own souls and face with candor what we are inside. I love that word, candor. It has candor is one of those words that has a lot of deep meaning to it that sometimes we make superficial, but the word candor is much more than just a superficial glance. It's a really introspective, deep looking at, in this case, what we are inside. And it goes on to say, then freely acknowledging that there is a defect in human nature. So it's kind of two parts what he's talking about. It's not just that we stop and take the time to do a deep, introspective, candor look at what we are inside. So we do that, but then we also go to the next step, and it says, then we freely acknowledge that there is a defect in human nature, a built-in waywardness that comes from man's natural rebellion against God. I love this part. He goes on to say, I am not preaching now. So whenever you hear that, you can almost be guaranteed that he's getting ready to start preaching, right? So it says, I am not preaching now, just trying to give you an understanding what makes you yourself tick. But I also expect to show you that in the end, you can find your answers only in a personal relationship with God. And so I want to go back a little bit to that middle section and that word candor and really what that means and what that looks like. Because I think if we don't get that, that's the very first step. Like, that's the beginning of the process. And if we don't get that right, if you don't get the beginning, it's kind of like a crossword puzzle in a way. If you don't get the first few words in the crossword puzzle right, you can never finish the puzzle right, because right from the get-go, you're going to have the wrong letters in the wrong spots, right? You can't make out a word with the wrong letters in there. So I always do mine in pencil so that I can go, because I'm not super smart, and I put all kinds of wrong words in there. So I got to go back and erase them so that I can change the letters when I figure out what maybe the other word is, and then kind of work my way backwards and figure out, okay, I got that word wrong, but I got 2 letters in that word, so now it's probably this, right? And so, but it's that idea of when a candor is a deeper, more introspective, and in this case, a more spiritual look at your life and who you are, like your base as a person. And this was something that I was faced with years ago, and this is something that's just came full circle for me again here just recently. And so there was a time in my life about 10 years ago where I was really messed up, and I had gotten a lot of things out of proper perspective. And I was living a life that I didn't really want to live, and chasing some things that I really shouldn't be chasing or didn't want to be chasing. And it led me just about to the end of myself. It about led me to a nervous breakdown, and it led me to a lot of dark, ugly things, really. And I had to just stop and step back and do exactly what this said in here. And it was just take a real introspective look at who I was. And what I figured out in doing that, and it was a process over a good amount of time, but what I figured out was who I wanted to be and who I was, and what I wanted to be and who I was, and what I wanted to be and who I was, and what I wanted to be and who I was, and what I wanted to be and who I was, and what I wanted to be and who I was, and what I wanted to be and who I was, and what I wanted to be and who I was, and what I wanted to be and who I was, and what I wanted to be and who I was, and what I wanted to be and who I was, and what I wanted to be and who I was, and what I wanted to be and who I was, and what I wanted to be and who I was, and what I wanted to be and who I was, and what I wanted to be and who I was, and what I wanted to be and who I was, and what I wanted to be and who I was, and what I wanted to be and who I was, and what I wanted to be and who I was, and what I wanted to be and who I was, and what I wanted to be and who I was, and what I wanted to be and who I was, and what I wanted to be and who I was, and what I wanted to be and who I was, and what I wanted to be and who I was, and what I wanted to be and who I was, and what I wanted to be and who I was, and what I wanted to be and who I was, and what who I was currently at that moment was two totally different things. And how I had gotten there was I never really took the time to really, with candor, really take a good look at who I was becoming. And slowly but surely, and like you don't do it overnight. You don't go from where you want to be into where you don't want to be overnight most times. Usually it's those small little baby steps that lead you away from where you want to be. But what I figured out was I was not where I wanted to be. I was not who I wanted to be as a dad, as a husband, as a son, spiritually, as a Christian, for sure. I was not any of those things that I wanted to be. I was not where I wanted to be in any of those things. And that was hard. That was really hard to take a step back and look at myself in the mirror and look at myself honestly and be able to say, you know what, I'm blowing it right now. I am, how I got there really was I spent a lot of time lying to myself. I spent a lot of time lying to myself, telling myself that I was a good guy and I was working hard and I was doing a lot of good things. And so that meant that I was in great shape and I was perfectly fine. But I do like what a lot of Americans do and a lot of people in general do is I told myself what I wanted to hear so I could enable myself to do what I wanted to do. And that's a dangerous, dangerous cocktail and situation to be in. Because once you start down that road, you can lie to yourself and you can tell yourself and sell yourself almost anything. And that's what I had done. And slowly but surely you get to a point where you don't even know who you are anymore and you don't even know what you're doing or why you're doing it. And so that was rough, to look in the mirror and do some soul searching and figure out I have gotten myself into a mess and I've gotten to myself to a point where unless I make some wholesale changes, I'm in deep trouble in a lot of ways. My marriage is in trouble. My finances are in trouble. My professional life is in trouble. And that was not pretty. When I came to that realization, that was about what caused me to head into a mental meltdown. And it literally was my relationship with Jesus, my newfound relationship with Jesus, that saved me from I don't even know what. And so when I read this devotion tonight, it really, really hit home. This candor look inside to see who you are and what you are and why you're doing the things that you're doing in that. And it just took me back to those moments 10, 12 years ago. And it just reminded me, I see so many people in life, and I can see it now much more easy, and I can see it from a lot farther ways off in other people's lives because it was such a part of my life. Like I can see them going through those same processes that I went through for a while, and it hurts me to see them doing that because I can just see that they're just lying to themselves and they're just talking themselves into this life and this lifestyle that they have no business living, and it's really just causing them to be miserable. But for some reason, society, not for some reason, I know why, it's because the enemy has a plan for us, but society just sells us that if you do this and you do this and you do this and you do this, man, you're living the American dream and you're going to be so happy. I chased all of those things, and every one of them led me to just the point of being miserable at the end. And so it wasn't until I got to the end of myself and the end of all those things and I was able to take a good, deep, dark look at who I'd become that I was able to see Jesus for who he is and where he was trying to lead me and how he was trying to change me. And that was a slow process. It was a slow process to try to figure out who I was and how I had gotten there. And it was a slow process to try to get right, I guess you could say, and just allow God to start working in my life and changing some stuff. And, I was really hoping it was going to be automatic. Like I say, okay, I'm just going to start doing this and it was going to get better. But it took a while and it was rough. Like a lot of things didn't fix themselves overnight. Like you have to pay the piper for a lot of decisions that you made. Like those things just don't super quickly go away. But eventually things started changing and things started getting better. And it was a long road, but it was looking back on it, it was a good road because now I can look at myself and see where I'm at and see how things have changed and know that I'm in a better spot than I was then. And so That's not bragging on me, because I was an idiot for a lot of years. A lot of years. And I chased a lot of stupid things and did a lot of stupid things. All that just tried to chase this societal idea of the American dream, and if you have this, you've made it, and if you make this amount of money, you've made it, and all those things. And I'm here to tell you, it's not worth it. It's not worth it in the least. And so a lot of that story is me working in a shop in Saginaw and just chasing money and chasing material possessions and chasing the next good time and all of those things. And so I don't know what that is for you, what circumstances that is for you, but for me, that's what it was. And so not until you get to the point where you can stop and step back and look and do that real deep introspective study of yourself are you going to see like what he talks about at the end of this. And this was so spot on, says, then freely acknowledge that there is a defect in human nature, a built-in waywardness that comes from man's natural rebellion against God. And what I figured out in those years is what I've heard several times since then, but I didn't grasp the concept before that. We never drift towards God. We never drift towards our relationship with Jesus. That's not the way human nature works. That's not the way our sin nature works. We always drift away from God. We always drift away from our spirituality. We always drift away from our relationship with Jesus. And that's exactly the way the world wants it. That's exactly the way Satan has it set up. Is so that we never, ever, it's not natural for us to drift towards God. We always drift towards worldly stuff. And that stinks that that's the way it is, but that's the reality of it. And so if we don't deal with the reality, then we're dealing with a false sense of circumstances, and you can never come up with the correct answer dealing with a false problem. Does that make sense? For years I thought I was fixing myself. I wasn't fixing myself. I was just chasing the next thing, and all the while I thought I was coming up with the answer, but I was never even asking the right question. And so it wasn't until I started asking the right questions that Jesus became the right answer, right? And so I don't know who needs to hear that, but I'm telling you, 100% proof positive is if you're not asking the right question, you can never get the right answer. And the right answer to every one of my questions always led me back to Jesus. My materialism, my problems in my marriage, my problems as a parent, my problems at my job, my problems with money, all of those things started to get right when I figured out how to get right with Jesus and allowing him to control and to guide and to inform and all of those things. So I know that's a lot. I just said a lot of things in a few minutes. But I had lived that life, and I hate to see other people living it when there's a better way. And the better way has a name, and his name is Jesus. And it's not hard. It's not hard. It's pretty simple. It's pretty easy. Well, I shouldn't say it's easy. I can say it's simple, right? We talk about it all the time. Dieting is simple but not easy. Being in a relationship with Jesus is simple, but it's not always easy, right? The world makes it hard. We make it hard. That's our wayward nature that we always try to drift away. So I don't know who needs to hear that. Maybe I was the only one that needed to hear it. Maybe I was the only, this devotional was just meant for me tonight. But it was a great reminder to me of if you're not careful, and if every so often you don't sit down and look yourself in the mirror and really inspect your life and kind of really go over who you are and what you're doing and why you're doing it, the natural tendency is to drift away from your spirituality, to drift away from God, and drift away from your relationship with Jesus. So every so often, man, it's a great idea to just get away, however it is that you get away, whether it's nature or a trip or whatever, a book or whatever it is. Just get away and do some real deep introspective dive into your own self and see where you're at and see how good you are. So, okay, that's my 2 cents worth on that. The prayer for the day, he ended with a prayer for the day, and the prayer is this: it is useless to hide the real me from you. How many times have we done that? I did that whole time, that whole mess for those years. That was what I was doing. I was hiding the real me from God, and I was hiding the real me from me, honestly. So it says, it is useless to hide the real me from you. I pour out this day all my innermost thoughts and feelings, Lord Jesus. So that's a great prayer. That's a great reminder that, why we think we can hide stuff from God is beyond me. But when you're in the midst of doing some crud you're not supposed to be doing, you think you're hiding it from Him somehow, some way. So I don't know. It just shows you what desperate condition you're in. You think you're hiding something from God. So it's like when you're a kid, you thought you were hiding something from your parents. You are not ever hiding anything from your parents. Your parents know. All right, let's go back over to Facebook, and we'll see if anybody's got any prayer requests. I don't see any. I do know we wanted to be. I didn't get an update. I ran out of time. I didn't get to text Pastor Ed, but I do know George Ritchie. I did not get an update on him to see where he's at or what's going on with him, but still be praying for George Ritchie and his family. I do not know if he's still in Chattanooga at the hospital or if they've tried moving him. I do not know. So just be praying for him and his family for answers and for God's provision and all that stuff. So I can't imagine what they're trying to figure out and going through. So continue to pray for Alexis. He's still dealing with his shoulder situation and trying to get answers, good answers. So continue to be praying for Alexis and all that stuff, that he can get his situation taken care of in a timely manner of some sort. So that whole thing's crazy to me. But I asked you to pray for Kelsey last week. She's doing much better. She's got this big yellow bruise kind of thing down her jaw from where they took her wisdom teeth out, but she started to eat some regular food. She's starting to feel better and get a little more stronger and a little more active, so that's good. And Kylene's foot that I asked you to pray about last week, is doing super good. She was able to play in her soccer game on Saturday, and it was sore, but not no real pain or whatever, and she didn't have any issues. So thanks for the prayers on that. Both the kids are doing much better this week than last week, so hopefully they keep trending in the right direction. So, all right, I don't see anything anybody else has got, so I guess let's go ahead and pray, and then we'll get out of here, and we'll be ready for Pastor Ed tomorrow. So, Father, I thank you for your goodness, and I thank you for your grace. God, I just pray that you would be with the Ritchie family, and you would be with George, that I don't know his situation tonight, God, but I just pray that you'd be with them, that you would comfort them, and that they would sense you and know that you are there with them and you are for them, and that George would just sense that you are with him and for him and that you are there. God, I just pray that you would be with Alexis, that you would be with his shoulder and his pain tolerance and management and all those things. But God, I just pray that you would be with the healthcare system that he's trying to work with and in, that he could get some answers, some good answers, and get something happening here in a timely fashion so that he can get on the road to surgery and healing and all those good things. So, God, I just pray that you would be with us, that as the warmer weather comes and we get out and about, and hopefully we can see and interact with more people. God, I just pray that you would be with this virus and it would continue to go away, that we would be able to head back towards normal lives, and we would be able to be relational beings again. I feel like I even struggle being a relational being anymore because it's been so long since I've been able to do it. God, I just pray that you'd be with us, that you would protect us, that we would continue to head in the right direction, that we would be smart and be mindful of things that are going on, but we would be able to be in relationship with people and love on people and ultimately share the truth of your kingdom and the truth of your Son, God. Just pray that you'd be with us, you'd protect us, that we can enjoy the nice weather, and that spring would be close. God, I pray for all these things in your Son, Jesus' name. Amen. All right, guys. Glad to have you. Hopefully we'll see you tomorrow with Pastor Ed, and then I'll be here Thursday. And hopefully tomorrow's another beautiful day. I didn't check the weather, but I think tomorrow's supposed to be another awesome day. So have a good night. Love you.